Johnson joins us right now, co-host of the Eagle Hour, SuperTalk Hattiesburg, SuperTalk Laurel. Good afternoon, Luke.
Hey, Richard. Cool here in South Mississippi, but one of those. I guess we only get this day once every 4 years. But yeah, it's cold today.
It's Leap Day, February 29th. Somebody sent us a message earlier. It's like, you guys have got to spoof off of that and come up with topics or whatever. Maybe we will.
Y'all need to decide
it's gonna warm
whether
up in a hurry, right?
Born on this day. I'm sorry. I figured y'all to have a discussion if people born on this day or like their actual years or only the actual amount of February 29th that occur in their lifetime. So I figured y'all would start off the discussion today that way.
Jane and I have a dear friend who was born on February 29th. And she's probably 50-ish. So it's like, I don't know. Does she claim to be 12?
You guys missed one then. Monty Kiffin.
I saw that. On the, I don't know, Instagram or Twitter or somewhere earlier today. So, Luke, we are underway with spring football for Southern Miss. We talked about this some yesterday. Will Hall, the man loves football, and he loves to spread spring practice out. Starts on February 27th, finishes on April 11th, and that's only because he can't start it on February 14th and finish on May 10th.
He also loves the state of Mississippi, so we call this the Natchez Trace approach to spring football. And the reason for that is he has two main reasons for that: to teach, but he wants spring football to be physical. And he told us today on the Eagle Hour about for the ability to recover. They go about 3 days a week. They went today, which is day 2. They'll go Saturday, helmets first day, and then really in March they'll go except for spring break week, they'll go 3 days a week. And then in April he does something interesting too. He has the spring game the third practice of April, and then he has 2 practices after the spring game in order for them to find some things out. But 29 newcomers, so this approach really suits it well for guys to be able to learn 2 new systems. They're learning a whole different system on offense and defense with Chip Long and Clay Bignell as the new coordinators.
It's so fascinating to me the way that different coaches look at spring practice. You have some coaches who I think would be fine with doing away with spring practice altogether. You have some that they're fine with having it, but they're not taking a chance with anybody that's even a little bit banged up or has any kind of lingering issues. You've got some, like in Starkville this year, with a new staff where, it's complete installation. This is the first opportunity to be with your team in a football setting, other than individual work. And then you've got Will Hall, who's established, and yes, there is installation stuff because of new coordinators, but the man just wants to milk every second he can out of every football opportunity that exists.
He does, and specifically this spring, they've got to figure out the offensive line. This is some of the young offensive linemen that they have recruited. In their first recruiting class, you'll see those guys play significant minutes this year, and so he's got to, spring has to be physical. You got to throw those guys in there. You got to try to figure out who's going to be, the War Daddies up front. Because, everybody knows it, including Will. This is make or break year for Will Hall at Southern Miss.
Tate Rodemaker, I know that it's 2 practices in and there are no helmets and there are no pads and nothing. But is there anything that stands out? Anything that, as you watch this team practice throughout the spring, you want to see from him?
You want to see leadership ability. You want to see, how you feel like he will have the grasp of this offense, but you want to see how he responds to competition, because there's 4 dudes and it's open competition. That was said day 1. Of course, Wiles comes back, but Crawford's in there. John White's on campus, and they're all getting reps. And so you want to see how Rodemaker, he's not giving anything. He's coming in. Maybe a lot of people from the outside would say it's his job to lose, and there may be some truth to that. But, how Ethan Crawford finished the season and John White coming in. And so I'll be interested to see how Rodemaker, how he responds when he's pushed.
I'm really, really interested to see how it works out with John White as well. Just such a decorated high school career, the all-time leading passer in the state of Mississippi. That doesn't happen accidentally. You can be in a pass-friendly offense you can be in an offense or on a team where maybe the competition is not the stiffest week in, week out. But to throw for the number of yards that he did over the course of 4 years it's remarkable to me, and I'm really going to be interested to see how that translates at Southern Miss.
And when he was put against, big-time programs, like you look at what he did against Oak Grove, and even
he played really, really well.
Best.
That's a good point.
Yep. So, I think he is we said until Rodemaker got here, this was the best quarterback prospect that had happened. Of course, he's a freshman, but at the same time, I would say freshman prospect, this is the best Southern Miss has had in maybe 5 or 6 years.
Hey, let's talk some baseball for a couple of minutes before we wrap up. Tough loss in a midweek game. Pretty good so far. 8-2 after the first 2 full weeks, then lose a midweek game this week, so 8-3 on the year with a pretty good Indiana State team coming into town this weekend.
Yeah, Nichols had only lost 1 game. They lost last week, a midweek, a 1-run game to Tulane. Oz feels really good, about that Nichols State team. So, some people might glance at it and he wouldn't say that they played horrible. It was really 2 times that got them. They got popped for a 3-spot twice. One was in the top of the 10th. Taken away from that game, Southern Miss was down 6-3 going to the bottom of the 10th. They score 2. They have the tying in winning run on base. Monaster strikes out at the plate to end the game. So that's a game that I feel like Southern Miss will win in April or May. Pitching kept them in the game. And one thing that continues to impress, like this pitching staff, man, it's wild deep. I mean, it's crazy deep. Cole Boswell started the game, who was Meridian's ace the last 3 years at Meridian Community College. He was like 21-4 up there. Oz may have brought him out a little too early to get guys other innings and get guys other looks. But that's a guy who just started in a spot start and with Armistead going to the bullpen and going to the rotation and Sibley going to the bullpen, kind of Oz's his options are almost limitless at this point for how he wants to shape the staff.
I'm really interested to see what ultimately he does with Cross Sibley as well. He told us on Monday that the reason he did what he did last Friday where he went to Sibley was because of kind of what the lineup looked. It was a strategic thing, and said it was something that he thought that he might do going into the game. But do you think Sibley's home is now back in the bullpen, or do you think it'll be kind of in and out?
I think it could be in and out
on how other guys pitch.
Yeah. And because he has the starter potential, he has the course to eat up innings if you get in a situation where you need innings to be eaten. It is interesting right now, early in the season, to try to see Oz's managerial style versus Barry's managerial style. And I think that'll be interesting just to observe going forward, because the lineup really hasn't looked the same hitting-wise like every single game. There's a nuance. And Oz is one of those guys pitching-wise, if you walk somebody, you're gone. And so you kind of see that reflected, in the guys that hit one game, they're in the lineup the next game. He set Slade Wilkes in Game 3 this past weekend, and Wilkes responded with a 4-for-5 outing against Nichols. So Oz is not afraid to switch it up and switch it up big time if needed.
What about this weekend with Indiana State coming in, a team that was a regional host a year ago?
They were undefeated, until Tuesday. Vandy hammered them pretty good, but they beat UConn and beat Louisville early, and they look just like they're reloaded. So it'll be interesting to see. The question right now is the Eagle offense. They get people on base, but they've left between 70 and 80 batters on base in the last week, and that's the key. If they can get runners in, I think that will be what makes or breaks this team. If the Eagles lose, the first stat that you check on the page will be the runners left on base.
Yeah, you don't want to get in the habit of that being a double-digit number. Just nothing good about that. Nothing good comes from it. All right, Luke, thanks as always for your time. Good catching up.